If you're planning on coming to Barcelona in January 2025, in this video I'm breaking down what Barcelona is like in January and all the events and activities that are going on throughout the month so you can make the most out of your trip and have an amazing time while you're here. But before we continue, as I've done every month, I've taken all of this information and put it into my Barcelona travel guide to January 2025. That way you won't have to write all of this down. You can download it, take it with you on your phone, including interactive maps that'll help you get around the city and find all of these places. Remember, you can find all of that information in the link in the description below, or you can just click on this QR code right here. Despite what many think, January in Barcelona is still a great time to visit the city. The city slows down a little bit after the holiday rush, offering a more authentic vibe perfect for exploring at your own pace. The weather is mild with average temperatures ranging from 9 to 15 Celsius, 50 to 60 in Fahrenheit, so you'll need a jacket, but you won't freeze. As always, prepare to wear layers and expect those temperatures to really jump midday from the cold mornings and evenings. The streets are quieter, but there's still plenty to enjoy, like the Three Kings Parade, the city's first neighborhood festival, and even a huge onion festival. It's also a great time to wander through the Gothic quarter without the summer crowds, enjoy cozy cafes, or take advantage of some indoor attractions. And you won't need to make those big reservations so far in advance. Don't forget the winter sales kick off in January, so it's the perfect time to shop like a local. Barcelona in January lets you experience the city at its most genuine, laid back, welcoming, and a surprisingly great time to visit. Obviously, the first day of the year, New Year's Day, is the big holiday, and it is a day that things are a little bit more slowed down here with people going out into the early hours of the morning. So you will notice that might be a little bit less people around. Maybe in that afternoon, people walking around and really just enjoying the day off. But one of the things that you need to know, and this is more for the 31st, but it'll lead right into the 1st, is that the big party is over at the Marina Cristina Avenue. That's that avenue that's leading right up to Montjuic, where they're going to be having the big fireworks show, all of the music and everything. You want to get over there, and the party starts around 11 o'clock. The festivities over at Plaza España are really going to wrap up around 12:15, right after midnight, and that's when most people start to make their move over to different clubs or bars that they're going to be going to. Remember that locals here really usually are going to stay home until around midnight, celebrate at home, and then start taking advantage of that night ahead of them and going out to those places. So you might not see a lot of clubs or bars full until the earlier hours of the morning. Now, if you're looking for those longer nights, there's all sorts of clubs and everything that are going to have their special New Year's parties that are going on. But one thing that I found and one thing that I use is the Fever app. Get onto Fever and find not only the clubs for New Year's Eve, but some of the best activities that you can do in Barcelona at any time of the year. And January is always packed with all sorts of different events. So I'll leave my code in the description below with some discounts and some other ideas for some things you can do throughout the entire month. One of those clubs that you can reserve specifically for New Year's Eve on the Fever app is over at the Barcelona Beach Club, where they'll be having their 90s party. Get on there, make those reservations, and make reservations to any of the clubs that you think you want to go to while you're here, because it does fill up fast and they always cost a lot more the day of. Another option that I would recommend is going to a hotel website, looking for some of those hotels with some great rooftops that are going to be having their parties. It might be a little bit more secluded, but it'll be easier to talk to your friends and ring in the new year. And one final recommendation to ring in the new year is going to be over at the Pobla Espanyol. Not too far from that Plaza España, you've got the best New Year's Eve party in Barcelona, starting at 10:30 and running all the way until 6 a.m. Now, you definitely want to get your tickets online beforehand, because it is always more expensive to do so at the door. Starting at 45 euros, what you get is 4 drinks included and the grapes. And if you don't know the grape tradition over here in Spain, you eat 12 grapes to ring in that new year. I've done full videos about it if you're looking for more about what that tradition is all about, but it's always a lot of fun. And included in those tickets, you get those grapes. Now, that is a little bit of a longer night. You might miss the entirety of that next day, but it is going to be a lot of fun. But what about the actual day of January 1st? If you wake up the next day after that night of partying, what can you actually do? A lot of people always are worried about these holidays and how it affects the opening and closures of business. While a lot of those businesses are going to be closed, restaurants will still be open. Museums you might find shut down, but a lot of those bigger tourist attractions are still open. So I definitely recommend taking advantage, going over to places like maybe the Casa Batlló, Sagrada Familia, but making those reservations well beforehand. But the big event on January 1st, run by the CNAB, the Swimming Club of Barcelona, down at the Barceloneta, is El Primer Baño del Año, the first bath of the year. get into the water on January 1st at 12 noon. They always have this big event where people go swimming in the Mediterranean. Now, it might seem pretty cold, but it is a great way to start off the new year. It's usually a solidarity event, so for just €4, you can sign up and take part. On January 3rd, you've got a free Christmas concert right out here in front of the cathedral. This is something they do every year, normally over in the Plaza del Rey, but this year they're gonna move it over to the plaza in front of the cathedral. Remember, this is a free Christmas concert with all sorts of different carols, so it's first come, first served. Who's gonna be singing is the Orfeo Català, that famous orchestra that you've got coming over from the Palau de la Música with the kids, choirs and things, so it should be a really good time. It starts at 7:30, so make sure you don't miss it. Now, because January 6th is the big holiday, it's Three Kings Day, it's when the presents arrive. We're gonna see in just a minute what actually goes down on that day. But the day before, January 5th, you've got the Three Kings Parade, the Cabalgata de los Reyes Magos. Now, this is something that goes on in towns all over the country where Gaspar, Melchor, and Baltasar, the three kings, arrive to the city and then have a big parade throughout, throwing candy out to the kids. Here in Barcelona, they arrive from the sea in a boat. They start from right around here and go down the Passeig Colom, up the parallel avenue, going through San Antoni neighborhood and getting over and finishing up at the Plaza España. It's gonna start around 6:30 in the afternoon and they're gonna finish up around 9:15 at night. It's a lot of fun, but there are people all over the place. And with throwing out that candy for the kids, it is packed with all sorts of families around. Make sure if you want to get a good spot to get there early, make sure you leave the space for the kids because it really is for them. But it is a lot of fun to go and see. As I already mentioned, January 6th is the big holiday. It's the day of presents, and it's one of the few days out of the year that some of those openings for tourist attractions might be affected. So anything that you're thinking of going over to, remember to get online and check the availability of that specific day. But as it's the big holiday, all of the kids are going to sleep on January 5th, getting ready for that next day to find out what presents those three kings have brought them. But instead of leaving milk and cookies for Santa Claus, they're leaving kava and carrots for the three wise men and their camels. I always thought that that was really fun to see that different tradition over here. And the next day, what you have, apart from opening up presents, is the big tradition of the roscón or tortel de Reis. This is a cake that they have over here with some dried fruits. But what happens is each year you buy it, and on the inside of this cake, they put a little figure of a king and a little bean. Now, the person who finds that king is obviously the winner, and they're gonna have good luck throughout the year. The person that finds that bean on the inside, well, they've got to pay for the cake next year. Fortunately, I found a lot of kings and only found the bean one time. So I think I have to pay this year. Remember that Christmas season here does last a little bit longer and goes all the way to January 6th. It might be longer than some other places, so you still have time to catch some of the big Christmas traditions while you're here in Barcelona, especially uploaded at the front of that month. Markets like you can see behind me right in front of the cathedral will be closing before Christmas actually starts, but there will be 3 other markets that you can still see those first days of January. One of them is going to be the Christmas market over at the port, which has all sorts of different activities, rides, and food and things like that to get involved with. And you've also got the Three Kings Fair, which is going to go right up until that date, January 6th. That's over on Gran Via. And you've also got the Christmas market over at Pobla Español. All 3 of those will give you some of that Christmas cheer at the beginning of January. And because that Christmas season does run until January 6th, remember that first week of January, you can still catch the Christmas lights each night all around the city. Another thing you can go over and see for a little bit longer until January 12th is Llums de Sant Pau, which is the big light show over at the hospital. The Casa Batlló also has its facade being lit up each night for a little 3-minute light show right on it, which is always a good time. And then you've also got all sorts of different concerts that are still going on, especially Christmas concerts over at the Palau de la Música and Liceu. I talked about all of these different things in a little bit more detail in my December video. So if you want a little bit more information about that, remember, go back and check that one out. And once that Christmas season ends, that's when you've got the rebajas starting. Those sales are coming on, so you'll see signs all over the stores that say rebajas, rebaixas. And it's gonna start around January 7th. Usually at the beginning, they're not as big of sales, but as they keep going and there's less things to offer, there's gonna get up until maybe even 70% that you'll find. If you're looking for some of the best places to go around shopping, right here on the Porta del Ángel up to Passeig de Gràcia, get over to Arenas Shopping Mall, even over to the Maquinista, which is the big shopping center here in Barcelona. You're gonna find these sales everywhere, and it might be even more packed than what you see right now. Now, as far as the football matchups that you can catch throughout the month, it looks like the Barca games are going to be a little bit more towards the end of January this year. You've got the 26th versus Valencia, and then the 29th in a Champions League matchup against Atalanta. The Femení games that you can go over and see the women's team play just outside of Barcelona are going to be on the 12th against Levante de Badalona, the team just on the outside of Barcelona, and then Atlético de Madrid, which is going to be on the 21st, and the other games that you can see are going to be those Espanyol games, which is the 11th versus Leganés and the 19th versus Valladolid. Now in 2025, I'm going to be giving some basketball recommendations as well, because in January, Barcelona has two big EuroLeague Cup games, and the first is January 15th against Panathinaikos, the Greek team and reigning champion in EuroLeague, so it's going to be a really good game. You've also got the 17th against Efes, a Turkish club that has a stacked team as well, so both of those games, if you can catch them, are going to be great. Now it seems like there's always some sort of big city festival, neighborhood festival, something going on in Barcelona throughout the year, and despite it being January, we've still got some festivals. Actually, the first neighborhood festival of the year is going to be celebrated over in the Sant Antoni neighborhood. You've got the Festa Major Sant Antoni celebrating St. Anthony the Abbot, their patron saint. So we're going to see a lot of things related to animals, as he's the patron saint of animals as well. You've got a big tradition called the Tres Tombs, the three tumbles or the three rounds, where you have a big parade with carriages, horses, and people going through, usually finishing up at the Plaza de Sant Jaume, and you've got the blessing of the animals taking place that day. So if you're in town on that, you should know kind of what's going on, but there are a bunch of other cultural traditions that take place throughout that week. The 17th of January is the day of the patron saint, and this year from the 17th to the 26th, we've got those festivals. So things like the Correfoc, maybe some Castellers, other things like that, and things that the neighborhood itself is going to organize. It's a really cool neighborhood in general. You've got a lot of different bars, restaurants, and things, especially some great vermouth bars to go check out, and some really cool shopping too. Now, if you happen to be in Barcelona during the winter months, one of the things that you have to try out is a calçot. This is a spring onion that is grilled, charred, and then eaten in big barbecue style events. It is so much fun, and January is prime time to get some calçots. Now, this next event is going to be something that's a little bit outside of the city, but one that I have fallen in love with. It's the Gran Calçotada del Valls, and it's a town that's about an hour and a half outside of Barcelona that on the last Sunday of every January has a huge event to celebrate a giant onion. They've even got the big giants walking through the street and a calçot giant of their own. But they also have an awesome competition, which is who can eat the most calçots in 45 minutes. They give people 45 minutes to just eat these onions after onions after onions. Last year, I was able to compete for the first time. So hopefully I'm gonna be able to do it again. Now you're probably wondering how I did in that competition. Out of 20 people, I came in 13th, but I ate over a kilo of onions. Now that sounds like a lot, but the person that won ate over 3 full kilos. So if you are looking to go to this festival or find out a little bit more about it, I did publish a video all about the Gran Festa that you can check out right here and see if you want to go, make it there at the end of January, and maybe see me compete.